So, what do Pokemon cards, grandmas, and real estate have in common? I still don't know, but somehow we managed to cover all of these on this upcoming podcast. I was joined by Jon Brooks, who you met on the last podcast, as well as our good friend Chris Moore, who is one of my colleagues crushing it here in the Northeast Florida market when it comes to real estate sales. We joined forces to talk about everything from scarce assets to the state of new construction, how real estate has changed in the times of COVID-19, and so many other topics. So without further ado, let's get into the video.
I was like, but they're collectible, and like, here's market value, here's what I could get them for.
Do you guys
and
understand?
And like, here's proof. And she's like, if you can get it for that, then buy it. Like, that was her attitude. It wasn't like, this is stupid, like, you're out of your mind. She was like, I see the numbers, and like,
Right.
it's a proven track record, so. It's just a funny topic of conversation, for sure.
Brooke would never let me ever buy Pokemon cards. I would love to.
What if you made like enough money to buy a new car for her?
Oh, no. Brooke,
She still
Brooke
wouldn't
does kind of want a new car.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're like, I can prove it, and it'll only, we can do it in 30 days.
See, here's the thing. She's so risky.
All right, stop. Stop. You guys are missing the point. That's the whole point of this kind of podcast.
Okay, all right.
Then you find the worst
wait, do I need to bring this up to my face?
Yeah.
Yeah. What? Is there a certain level I should be sitting away from this?
I'm watching you guys, so.
Oh, it just broke.
Yeah, things kind of
Janky.
It's the arm
So
string.
He bought everything from Amazon. Yeah.
Hello.
All right.
You wouldn't want to buy my Charizard.
All right, guys. Finally, we can talk about a podcast now.
All right. We have been talking about the podcast for like the
Yes.
past 15 minutes.
Bryson showed up late.
I
I talked about my Pokemon cards.
I was
for about
helping
10
my
minutes.
grandma. How you can't roast me? I literally said before you guys roast me, I was helping my grandma. That is like a pass out. All right, you're gonna tell me
You could have helped Grandma earlier.
Yeah.
Okay, grandma's technology problems came up out of nowhere. She has two
So it
different.
was a non-urgent grandma
Hey,
problem.
no,
I thought
it-
it was like a health problem, but now it's
Look, imagine 8 a.m. flight out she's going out to Montana with the rest of my family while I'm sitting here grinding and having a podcast with you guys. So, joys, right? Everything's fair in the world. But she's going out, her flight's out at 8 a.m. Can you imagine grandma thinking she logged in on her iPad, but her iPhone's on a separate, she has Judy Powers on her iPad, Judith Powers on her phone. She thinks she signed in. She goes to check in, running late because I know she would be running late.
Yep.
I'm not letting my 84-year-old grandma be stuck at the airport. No, she's not driving herself. That would be a whole mess.
dropped her off?
So yeah, she has a ride there. I would have to pick her up, sort out the problem. We'd have to get her on
So
another
how did
flight.
you help? That's the whole point.
I got her tickets from her iPad to her iPhone, and how I did that was I had to go through. She doesn't know any of her passwords, so I had to go through and do the whole recovery process. Yeah, it was a
So
whole.
what's the lesson you learned out of this
You're a good
experience?
grandson.
I would plan for another hour buffer time when it comes to taking grandma went with me to showings today.
Ooh.
Yeah, I took grandma today was a grandma
How
day.
did she do? Did she sell something?
Yeah, no, no, they were all virtual showings because that's literally 90% of my showings these days are virtual because I do YouTube leads. So literally that is all of my stuff gets uploaded to YouTube. I send out the link and then it goes to my clients and they get to watch the video as many times as possible. They pause on frames and ask me questions. It's great. Honestly, I would prefer to do video showings 10 times out of 10. I get to do it in 15 minutes. I get to record everything so they can see it back again.
Yep.
And they can ask me questions later.
Was your grandma in the video?
Yes, she was. She was. It was at the end of the day too. It wasn't a good fit for my clients. I knew their criteria just judging off past feedback, and I was like, hey, just so you guys know, but I gave them a heads up too, so they weren't like blindsided by my 84-year-old grandma roaming around the house like what's going on here.
Like Bryson's such a good guy.
I know.
His grandma on the showing. So do you ever have a customer that you get under contract virtually and they come in person and they're like, this is not what I signed up for?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
You just cancel and keep looking?
And that's a risk of working with YouTube clients, and they know that too. So I honestly like when I get to have like 5 showings with them, right?
Yeah.
5 showings. Sometimes I do have those clients that find a house or two, and like we go on a showing or two, and they're like, "This is the house,
Yep.
let's go." And then they get skittish and they worry about that. After 5 showings, I usually feel like a good rapport. They have a good sense of what's going on with the showings. They have a good sense of the house when, as far as scale goes and how big the house is via showings. So after a threshold, it becomes far less likely. But if it is an early offer acceptance and we put out an offer, then that's when I honestly get worried. I'm like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? So it does happen. Yeah. And that is definitely the counter risk of working with virtual clients.
Yeah.
So.
But the cool thing is you get to go do the showings on your own time without the client's schedule and just get it over to them by the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Right? So
Absolutely. I mean, I'm working with
more flexibility.
I'm working with couples that, they have differing schedules, right? They have work differences and stuff like that. And if they were here, we would run into that issue. Sometimes they do come here, though. They fly down. They are the people who want to see it in person.
Right.
I'm all for that, but I have to set aside time for those clients, right? So I usually tell people in advance, I'm like, hey, if you are going to come down here, give me a week's notice at least so I can set like time away for you guys, because if not, then we're going to have, mismatch in schedules, and it's, I want to make sure that you have a 5-star experience. At the end of the day, that's momentum. That's what we do.
Yep.
Now, did your grandma have 5-star experience?
She absolutely. Yeah. Hey, I took her to brunch today over at Canopy Road Cafe. That's right. Man. Hey, man.
Everybody gets a 5-star experience in his life.
Except you guys, apparently, because I'm 15 minutes late for the podcast. So
does Brooke get a 5-star experience?
You'd have to ask her. I'm not going to comment on that. She's still around, so there's that, but it is very early into our marriage. So
understood.
Yeah,
but you did break the tequila.
I did break the tequila. It was very good tequila.
Okay, good. Yeah.
That was.
It didn't have a worm in it, but.
Well, so I got a notification from was it Total Wine and More?
Yeah, Total Wine.
Okay, you ordered it, and it showed me like similar items, and I saw Chase Azul was in there, but it was a different version. I was like, did he give him Chase Azul?
I got.
I was like,
yeah, it's like got the custom bottle that's like artwork.
Oh,
almost.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
I've had it once. Brooke has never had it. Brooks had.
She liked it.
She loved it.
Okay, good.
Don Julio 1942 is another really good tequila. That's fairly wild. You can get it pretty often. It's just expensive. It's good stuff like Chase Azul. And she's had that before. She's like, this is like water. I'm like, that's a bad thing. I was like, that is expensive water right there.
So Bryson, this is my first podcast.
Okay.
So how do you want to introduce your podcast? Since I can give you all this content, so what is your?
I like conversations. I honestly the best.
But what's your you say? Hey, this is Bryson. What, you can do that at home, or you can do it now?
No, they honestly know who I am at this point too. And I can do. Yeah, I can do. One of the things that
referrals he doesn't even want to.
No, that's not true. I love working with people. It's just I can only give a 5-star experience. Only if grandma. Hey, grandma has got me business too. Like she got me one of my listings recently. She got me my house. The reason I got my house is because grandma was chatting it up with her neighbors, and we're like,
really?
yes, that is how I found my private deal. She was like, hey, Bryson.
Is she for hire?
Yeah, as my ISA, yeah.
Chatty grandma making deals happen.
She's great. My grandma seriously is
awesome.
Like the best person in the world. So, but yeah, she found out one of her neighbors that she's friends with. She's like, oh yeah, my grandson and his wife are moving because he's in the Navy and he's being stationed over in Coronado. And rather than renting it out to somebody else, my daughter and her husband are thinking about selling the house.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, well, my grandson and his wife have been having really hard luck trying to find a home over in Mandarin. She's like, oh, this home's in Mandarin. It's like, she told me, she's like, it's a 3-2, so-and-so, it's got a pool. And I was like, Grandma, I can't afford that. And we worked out the numbers to where it was a win-win for everybody, right? They didn't have to worry about listing it. They got to move when they wanted to. I actually netted them more money because, I have flexibility with my commission. So I was like, hey, what's important to you? And I went through the entire thing that I do with my sellers, my buyers, and I just find out what's important to them. And
it worked.
It worked out for everybody. It was great. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it was. In this market, yes, we will take wins when we can get them.
So Bryson's topic was grandma and being service for her. John has a different issue of buying something and not working out for him. What is your story, sir?
So for those of you who don't know me, I'm a Pokemon World Champion, 1999. I was Sponsored by the Wizards of the Coast to go play in the Tropical Mega Battle in
You'll probably buy a
Hawaii.
company and restart the op.
Yeah, and then represented the United States there, and we got to meet the game creators. We got pre-cut cards. We got all this. So we've been Pokemon collectors for a long time, and my parents are moving out of Virginia because they sold their house and they're moving closer. And they found boxes in their basement of all these Pokemon cards and Pokemon boxes that are still sealed from
That's the money right there.
1999. And so we've been doing research on auction houses, like what are these things going for? And we noticed over because this is the 25th year anniversary of Pokemon, and people are going berserk over Pokemon cards right now, and it's just come down about 30%. So I was like, this is pretty cool, and I'm just getting into the phase of my life where I'm interested in collectibles. And that's like one asset class diversification away from buying stocks or real estate and all that kind of stuff. So,
but you enjoy it. I mean,
it's fun. Yeah. It's entertainment. And you're buying something that you can enjoy on a daily basis versus just watching your stock portfolio go up and down, which I think has value to it, honestly. So I've been on eBay looking to see if there's card arbitrage where I could buy an item on eBay for a certain amount that's rated, so I know the condition of the card, it's professionally done, and then resell it on an auction house in Japan that has a wider reach to more buyers that have more money. So I just bought some cards. They were delivered today, right before this meeting.
He was super excited to show them.
Oh, he was so excited.
I brought my cards and showed it with everybody.
Like we're in the playground.
He didn't have to flex so hard, too. He just, reaches into his backpack and just,
Bryson.
He's like, what do you think about that?
But the card, one of the most important card, the Charizard, which is worth a lot of money, it had marks on it that online you could only see it on the case. Like you didn't know if it was the card or the case. And clearly when you get the card, you can see it's on the card. And so the card difference between a rating of one rating and another rating could mean tens of thousands of dollars. So, I was talking with Chris and I was like, hey, how do I return this thing? Because I don't even want to deal with regrading and all this stuff.
Right.
But, that's one of the risks online of buying. And just like with real estate, when you're buying online, you might not be getting what you paid for, and you need an expert to be able to have that eye. Like if I wasn't like a Pokemon guy that knew what ratings were and like that was actual damage, you could be holding that card as a collectible, and when you go to sell it, it's too late to get the refund.
Now, didn't you say the seller had it for he said he had it for 9 years? He said he had it for 9 years. So he might have got duped when he bought it.
He might have got duped. Well, they weren't worth anything 9 years ago. Yeah. It's only they've only been worth something since August this year, and they kind of took take. Like literally, they track with Bitcoin. So Bitcoin prices, and I'm thinking it's because all the millennials, they have extra money. They're like, oh, I made a couple grand on this. Yeah. I'm going to go buy some memorabilia from when I was a kid. But it's a good long-term investment because as the population ages and you have 60, 70-year-olds that are loaded rich, like in a 20, 30 years from now, people always go back and buy collectibles from when they were a kid, and they will be so it's a good long-term hold and enjoy it at the same time after the prices came down about 30%. So that's why we're doing it. But again, you buyer beware. So he did just accept my return, so I will be returning those cards, and I will see you on eBay bidding on all of your stuff at 50% off to try to resell in Japan for a higher price or in China for a higher price.
But that's something we talked about beforehand, where people might batch things together, even though they know it's not what legit. He'll batch it together, trying to push off the whole thing. Yeah. But luckily, you're savvy enough to look through and wait a second.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the same thing with a house. When you're going to buy a house, is your agent checking the AC, the roof, the siding, the lot, is there easement somewhere that makes the house a lot more valuable than it is? And if you don't have an expert by your side, it sounds silly to compare the two, but it's exactly the same.
Legit, cause
you need an expert. And if you have some agent that's selling 1 to 2 homes per year, you can forget it. You're going to have a terrible experience. You'd be caught with a big $40,000, $50,000 loss when you go to sell it. For example, I had a customer that wanted to buy off of Kernan, and it was a new construction, and it backed up onto Kernan right before they extended it. This is going to turn into a highway. And the other agents didn't really care. They just want to make the commission check. And I'm like, you need to choose a different lot.
Yeah.
And that one, the ones that are on a highway, they usually sell for $20,000, $30,000 less. That one comment from knowledge and skill that I learned over the years reselling houses just saved my customer that amount of money, if not more, as prices continue to go up. It's all about your lot and your views and the yard size.
Yeah.
And if you get that wrong and you don't have someone who's an expert guide, it could really mess you up.
I always do advise my clients, especially doing new construction. I said, just think about 5 years from now. When this house is brand new, you just love it. But 5 years now, you're talking about the lot. 5 years from now, it's going to be a regular neighborhood.
Yep.
And now you're backed up to the main street.
And there's going to be newer product.
Yeah. And you'll be like, dang. Yeah. I don't want people regretting that I sold them the house, because that's what they're going to remember. They're going to remember who was there. help them buy the house and like, shoot,
Yeah, and don't buy in the front of the neighborhood unless you get a big steep discount. So front of the neighborhood or one of the ones that back up onto something else, they just sell for less. They trade for less.
Yeah.
It's like a PSA rated 6 car versus a PSA rated 9 car.
And you get the discount up front. You're like, man, this is good. But like just knowing you're
there's a reason why.
If it's a 500 home neighborhood and you bought the house in the front, you're gonna see everybody's gonna go buy your house every day.
Single person, every single day goes by that. The houses in the front are more likely to have crime. The houses in the front have the most traffic flow, so if you have kids, that's a risk, right? Like, and then you get the street noise, and there's always a chance that the street might extend. So there's a lot of things that can go wrong if you're in the front of the community or back up onto a major road.
Yeah, and I think that's so important. One, I just did the same exact thing with one of my clients who had, new construction's going just as fast as resale homes at this point, and so lots are closing quick. I had one lot that was close to the front of the neighborhood for $30K, and then you had like the primo backed up to a reserve lot for $72, and they're like, well, that would push us really close to our limit. I'm like, okay, I understand, that would put you in an uncomfortable spot, but when you are also leveraging the fact that you can finance that $42K difference at 25% down, right? So you're really only paying an about 11-ish K difference right off the bat, and you can finance the rest. Your appreciation is going to go up higher. It's going to appreciate way higher than anybody else in the neighborhood, and you will not regret it. And you see that. John said it to himself. Like 20, 30K additional on top of the appreciation. Yeah, that's amazing.
It's like driving a new car off the lot, and you bought the wrong car.
Exactly.
It's not a collectible. It's just a lemon car.
Exactly, and that's why I tell clients who are looking at new construction, especially in this time, look at phase 1 neighborhoods. Like, that should be I honestly, it might be a little further away or whatever. I'd consider it, man. Phase 1 neighborhoods are, infinitely cheaper or going to appreciate way more than phase 2 or phase 3 neighborhoods, right? You immediately get equity. You can't find that return anywhere else that quick, except Pokemon cards, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
so just a comment on new construction. This is for me. Everybody is different. I would not buy new construction right now. They are slapping up homes, and the last time we saw people slap up homes was 06 to 08, and those the ones with stucco cracks, and they're trying to sue the builder, and then they built into the deed that you can't do class action lawsuits. You can only do one lawsuit at a time, so it's not worth suing them. And so you just have all these problems, and these, I guarantee you, especially with lumber prices, they're building houses that have cracked wood in them. I've seen it. Yeah. And so it's this is going to show up over the next 10 years. All these homes are being slapped up now. So I would buy an existing product that maybe has been around for 10 to 15
That's
years.
My special.
That has everything out of the way. But I would not be buying new construction for my family.
I don't even really touch new construction unless the client instructs me, and I give them my spiel on it too. I say the exact same thing where...
unless you get massive number of inspections on absolutely everything, and then even then I'm still not 100% confident.
Well, that too, and the fact that it does feel a little more speculative when you're going into new construction versus a resale home in an established neighborhood.
They're usually further out.
They're further out. I tell people, I'm like, look, if you have a 2 to 3 year time horizon, I have seen new construction appreciate faster than some resale houses. However, if you're in it for the long haul, we don't know the quality of build, right? If it's something that you view as your forever home, I would at least look at resale homes as well. There is no reason not to. And I know how discouraging it can be when you see highest and best, but you got builders like Lennar doing highest and best right now.
Yeah.
It happens.
Also, when you talk about the new construction, though, you also got to pick the right builder. We're not going to name builders in here, but you got to pick the right builder.
Yeah, we'll avoid that.
Yeah.
I really want to, but I'll hold my tongue.
And at the same time, but even when you do the resale, you got to look at how John just said, the older homes that were slapped up earlier, you got to be like, okay, look, what year are we picking? Because you could pick a year that was slapped up and okay, let's keep the range, after the crash, things, turned out to be a little better. Before the crash, you might have the open floor plan, but you still can find the right home. But there is those ranges of let's check the community, check the different areas before you go ahead with them.
But let's say you buy phase 1 and then there's phase 2 and 3. So Brittany and I always say if you're buying new construction, it better be 5+ years, because 5 years might be your break even, but if it's resale, it's maybe 2 with all the fees that goes into selling the home. So it's just what's your time frame is the key thing, because if you're a VA buyer coming in and buying and the need to go in 2 years, then it's got to be a rental for you, or you're going to be losing money. And it might make more sense in that case to rent, honestly.
See, VA, to me, I always tell VA people they should just buy a home right away.
Because just to use the benefit?
Yeah, just use the benefits. Because if you're getting, because if you're...
Turn it into a rental.
Well, yeah, because the base is, the military is going to pay you for housing, off-base housing. So if they're paying you $1,600 a month, and I get, well, I'm going to go rent. Like, dude, if you can, you're still, no matter what happens.
Yeah.
If you're getting paid $1,600 for the military to rent, why not just buy a house?
As long as they're looking to, if they're looking to sell it in 2 years, that might be a concern. But if they're looking to rent it, renting is a great option in Jacksonville right now, especially if you have a VA, because your payment's going to be a lot less. Definitely agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
So the main thing, my main thing was I learned a lesson traveling to Orlando. So we went to Orlando for my wife to fly out to Japan.
Okay.
We got there. I didn't realize that things have changed so much at airports.
When's the last time you flew? I haven't flown in. Oh, I flew in September. That was the last time I flew though. What happened?
So we got there 2 hours ahead of time. I think we were fine.
International flight.
I
can already see what's going
on. I forgot it was an international flight. Oh man.
International, yes.
So we didn't realize that we got on the line, got 2 hours ahead of time. It took an hour and 40 minutes to get through the check-in line. And then by the time you get there, because everybody has to check the COVID paper, make sure you got COVID tested before flying. 72 they verify everyone's passport. And you just see the new rules in place. I'm like, dang it, not being prepared. We check on every other document we needed to be ready. We're not thinking about getting early, being earlier, and this goes back to like 9/11. You didn't think after 9/11, you're like, oh shoot, should you go to the airport,
Yeah.
But now, so lesson learned was, and we saw that we used American Airlines, that they are just following the policies, and there's new policies for everything in life. And this little lady was behind us, and she was going to Canada. And we were already screwed, so we had to go back the next day and fly. But what I saw what happened to her was unbelievable, because she did the COVID test, was there early, but they're like, ma'am, you're a different country national. You can't fly to Canada. You can't go visit your friend. And they just told her, our policy is if you're not a citizen for that country, you can't go.
Yeah.
And she came prepared and everything, just like we did, but
had the bag.
Had the bag and everything. Yeah. But he's like, okay, so things are changing, climate's changing, we just be ready for this stuff.
Sure.
And so that's what we learned is like, okay, even though we were prepared, we weren't prepared enough for stuff. And there's certain things you can check on. You see the policy changing. So I just want to get to you guys about like, what have you seen change and what are some new things changing in life since this COVID and real estate and business and everything for you guys? Have you guys seen any big changes in your life? Because I know, you were talking about Pokemon cards, talking about helping grandma. You're talking about grandma going flying.
Yeah.
But I'm sure for her, everything's check-in for her online, and it's still local. But there's so many policy changes. And like I said, I couldn't be mad at American Airlines for holding these standards of, we and I'm like, well, man, we got here at 6 o'clock and our flight's at 8:40. And the lady was so cool and collected, like, yeah, but we open at 3.
Well, there are changes. Even with restaurants, I went to a restaurant the other day and it just said, we're exhausted. That's all it said on the door was like, we're exhausted, we're closed until July 7th. And I was like, wow, so like you really need to do the research online before you go do anything due to COVID, because the whole logistics, supply chain, even just supply of labor is all messed up right now. I've had a buddy of mine that had to close early one time, who owns a restaurant, because he didn't have enough wait staff and there were just too many people who wanted to be there, and so he had to close early. He had no choice. He couldn't serve these people, and people were writing him bad Yelp reviews, and he's like, it's not my fault. I'm like trying to serve you guys, and so it's just like a really challenging situation right now, finding qualified labor who wants to work. And I think that what happened during COVID is that there's a lot of people that really enjoyed not working, and they found other solutions to just permanently not work and still somehow make an income or move in together and these kind of things, and it's disrupting a lot of the supply chain for things like restaurants, especially in Florida. I've just seen it all over the place.
So what about like the housing market as well? Because it seems like you're saying about labor, and I'm like, man, how come we're still so far behind the houses when people are getting raises or the minimum wage is up $12, $15? Where are all the people who want to work?
Well, it's the same thing with real estate agents, honestly, because even great agents right now are exhausted because it's been such a hot market for a year. Great agents are dropping out of the industry. Like we just had one the other day with Momentum. With Momentum, that was like, I just don't want to do this anymore. And it's becoming like it was at the beginning, like riding the wave, and now it's become so hyper competitive that you might have to go lose 5 offers with your buyers, even if you have great relationships with the listing agents, and still continue to not get paid and work with these customers. You're going to have a burnout point. Versus back in the day when I was selling real estate at a high level, it was like I have 5 options, and if I make a bid on one, they go under contract, and there's a little bit of negotiating room. Right now, you don't have the room to negotiate. You are lucky to get your offer accepted, even with a builder with a lot that's not even being built yet. So it's just there's burnout in real estate. There's burnout. The airlines are behind like 1,100. There's something that came out. The airlines are behind. The restaurant workers are exhausted, and I don't blame them. And the American people want convenience and affordable, regardless. And so they're trying to get all these people to do work for really low pay, just like they were doing before, and they don't want to do it.
So you're saying
find other solutions.
We're seeing it's in the service industry mainly that people are exhausted in the service industry. Trying to provide service to customers, but at the same time, they're just getting burned out.
At the low pay.
Yeah.
They want great, or if you're getting paid highly, the demand is there where it's like you might not get paid. Again, there's buyers out there that are making 5, 6, 7, 8 offers, and they're not getting accepted with agents, and they're perfectly good agents.
And the agent's got more than one buyer, though. That's the whole thing.
If you've got 10 buyers right now, and you have no showing agent and no transaction coordinator, you're not really living a life.
No,
like
you aren't.
You're living a life in your head because you're trying to make all these people happy, and there's no way to make them happy because you don't control the product.
Yeah, and another thing too is we're seeing commission suppression as well.
Yeah.
And that's another reason that we not only have to make all these offers, but we're getting paid less on. 3% is a mythical beast these days, right? I see a few. I've seen a few recently, and I'm like, oh man, I miss those days. But it's not so much that; it's the fact that luckily we're at an innovative brokerage where we don't have to worry so much about that, because not only we have a small brokerage split too, whereas you're seeing some of the other teams pivot. I know a big team around here pivoted to a higher split.
They're regretting it, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I'm sure. They have to be. But you also see those big box brokerages that are having the high split. So you're seeing a lot of people jump ship to smaller brokerages around here, more boutique or local brokerages.
They can't pay the big box, because here's the thing, like if it's 2.5% commission and they got a referral for 25% that they owe another agent, then they have the team split of 50/50, then they have the brokerage split of 36% plus monthly fees, and then they have the team split of 50/50. You have like 16-17% left over. You have to sell 5 homes for
on top of taxes.
6-7 homes.
That's not even factoring in taxes
not even
too.
taxes and
or business expenses. Yeah.
So agents are working for free, and if they're buying online leads, they could owe another referral fee on top of that. And so there's a lot of agents, like you'll see a bunch of Facebook posts right now, like I did one last night, that's like, here's how much production we did. And so it's like, that's great, but how much did you actually profit and how much did you work? Because I see other people out there, and I know that they're spending tens of thousands of dollars on Zillow, and their splits are like super high. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you know that they're probably netting 10 to 20% max.
Yeah.
And to Bryson's got a better, business model.
I have a better
you could send
lifestyle.
Out a referral for 35% with a great agent and get paid 35% and not have to manage all of the people, all of the systems, all of the processes that it takes to close a transaction. And so in my mind, when we're comparing, and we always play the comparison game, but if we're like really comparing the variables that matter, it's how much time do you invest? How much profit do you invest, and how much, and most importantly, the level of customer service you give. Because if you're on a big team and you've got 8 people involved in the transaction, there's no way that customer is going to have a great experience by the end of it. The customer wants one super knowledgeable powerhouse real estate agent. They don't want an assembly line model where they build a relationship with no one.
It's annoying too. I'm under contract with a listing, and it's with a team that has so much layers of bureaucracy almost. Like I have to reach out to this person for that, reach out to this. It's not even just the customer. And they won't respond. No, they won't.
They're like, that's not my job. Their attitude is that's my, and once you know that that's
they were
not
so
my
snippy
job,
too.
Then it's like, whoa, that's a huge red flag about service.
They were so snippy. Yeah. And you see it. It's one of those things that's frustrating, because not only that, but now it's creeping doubt into my buyer too. And he's like, well, I'm sketched out. Are they trying to hide something? I'm like, no, that's just the level of service you get from that side these days. And
like their service to their customer might be good, but to everybody else might be crap.
And that's so bad.
And that's not good for the brand in the market.
Team.
Yeah.
That, like, even if I don't like the other agent, like I'm still gonna work. And not like I don't have. I'm trying to think of grudge. I don't have any grudges against like major agents. I'm gonna work in our best interest.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like we're in this market for 10, 30 years, whatever. Like we're gonna run into each other again.
If you don't approach it like that, like. You're going to be in a rough time. You're not building a sustainable business.
The best agents I know are like friendly to everybody, nice to everybody, makes it easy to everybody, answers their phone, apologizes, takes ownership, and then guess what? When they do that and they put an offer on your listing, you're like, I want that one, and you bring that offer to your seller and say match it or beat it, and you start working with the best in the industry. And that's why it's so hard if you're a new agent with no reputation, or if you're an agent with a bad reputation, a mega producer, to get your offers accepted because people don't like you.
Yeah.
And it literally is a popularity contest in a lot of cases in this market. It didn't used to be a popularity contest and you could be a dick. I know, because I was one and I still sold homes. But now it's a popularity contest where you really need to treat people right. And then people who were not treating people right before this market and are now paying the price by not getting their offers accepted, or not having to work with buyers, or they're getting burnt out and leaving the industry. So the cream does rise to the top is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And that is a change. That is back to the original question. That's a change that has happened during COVID, is the people who are the best are having the best year ever, and everybody else is kind of
now. What are they best at? Is it the best? Because I feel like for me, yeah, okay. So for me, I'm
quality.
System something I always continue to improve, but I think it's the service and the front, like you're talking about the friendliness and get along with people. I think that's huge as far as being a winner, having a good personality and getting along with people will service you well in this business. That's the first. People right now, sellers also can be like, I'm gonna sell it myself.
Yeah.
But you come in there with confidence and you come in there friendly. Well, and you just laid out, like I had an appointment this morning, I just laid out everything what we can do for this guy. And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, I was going to do it myself, but if you're doing all that for me, then it's a no-brainer.
You can help them. Yeah. There's value to be created there, and you're showing them what the value is, and you're probably doing a good job listening to what they really want, and then understanding it, repeating it back to them, and figuring out what the next step is.
Absolutely. I think another thing that's changed too is terms. You have to get creative with terms, and it's also educating your buyers and sellers too of how much terms matter these days, because you are capped at appraisal if you aren't getting a cash deal, right? And it is how much it's okay. Well, maybe we scale back our down payment so we have cash on hand to afford any appraisal gap. And they're like, appraisal gap? Whoa, you mean I have to pay out of pocket? I'm like, yes, that is. For a lot of these properties, if you like this property, chances are there are at least 10 other parties who are interested in this property as well, at least. And so you now have to come to, they're like, oh, well, we can go $50K over and we'll finance. No, because you have to worry about the appraisal, right? And it depends on the appraiser too. I just got done working with a great appraiser who knew the market. He's like, hey, I understand where it's coming from, and that's why I valued it, with these comps. And he's so knowledgeable about the local. I enjoyed talking to him. And then you have the appraisers who, I'm like, just expect the worst. They're very conservative. They're like, it's like old school real estate agents. I've been doing this for 30 years. I'm stuck in my ways, and
they don't change. And that's a big thing. The people who aren't changing to the market in any industry, they're falling behind, and they deserve to. I mean, if you're a business person, your job is literally to adapt to what's going on around you. You can't mop away the ocean.
Well, I think going to what Bryson said about the change and putting offers in is that's where comes with Jon is the pairing with the right lender.
Oh yeah,
because now when you're a selling agent, listing agent, you like, okay, who's your lender? I talked to Jon the other day. Have you heard of this company? He's like, yeah, they're bad. Yeah, so you got to have a right lender because
they're all new, so you know that their quals don't mean anything.
And we put your offer in, like, hey, here's my lender, here's the number, you can call them. They're local and they're an expert and they've been doing it. So that way, at least the seller has confidence of, because we're putting offers and you get accepted. A lot of offers also fall through. Because the lenders are the fly-by-night people don't check their KVARs or whatever for student loans, or don't check the spouse, or don't check this, and then 30 days later they're like, oh, sorry,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to do your diligence more now than ever before, because people have stuff that pop up, especially with COVID, people losing their jobs, with temporary working situations and all that. So from a lending side, you definitely need a top.
Yeah,
and who did you use for your purchase?
Michelle Carm with Integrity Mortgage. You want me to plug?
How was your experience?
I will always recommend Michelle first.
Why?
Because I can call her at 7 p.m. on a Saturday knowing that I give the same experience to my clients. She does the same exact thing. She will answer my calls and be like, hey, I'm like on a family trip on the river, but I'm still going to answer your phone call. And that's so important in this market where it's like, okay, what's going on here? I just got this document back, and she'd explain everything.
So she gives you time of day when you need it.
It was giving me time of day. It was also educating me on some stuff. She's like, hey, instead of going 3.5% FHA, here's why I want to go 3% conventional, and stuff of that nature, where it was like, hey,
She's looking out for the customer too, which matches your business style.
Yeah, and I need people who are an extension of my brand. And that goes for everything. That is not just confined to lending, although lending is probably one of the most important parts of your part. Yeah, it is your inspector. I fired my inspector because he was, inspection company. One guy was good. I liked him. Straight to the point. They sent out
a different guy the next
time.
But
they sent out this one guy who is not good. And I have to explicit. And sometimes I'd be in a time crunch where he was the only guy I could use. And I made the mistake of doing it the second time, and it cost my customer, and it's a bad reflection of me. So extension of brand has never been more important. It was always important. It's never been more important in this market.
That's a really hard business to scale too. I've talked to a lot of inspectors because they are amazing, and then they get overbooked, and then they have a hard time replicating that because of the amount of knowledge you need to have.
Yeah.
If you have a mistake, it can cost a lot, and you have to have a lot of insurance. And
I cannot imagine how brutal of an industry it is.
So if you find a good one and you're with a good agent, they prioritize Brittany and I always use someone that, even if they were booked, we could call them and they would squeeze us in somehow, and they didn't miss anything for 5 years.
So it sounds like we're all still going back about service.
It is.
Service is the most important thing.
Yeah, it's extension of service too. I think there's your sphere, what you can control, right? What you can provide your clients, and then the people who you have to trust to provide the same service.
Relationships. Honestly, It comes down to relationships with other service-oriented people, because unfortunately, in my experience, I'm just talking about myself, 95% of the time, the people I'm sitting across from don't give a crap about service. They're there just to make some money, or they have commission breath, or they don't care about the customer experience. It's just but if you find that 5%, you hold on to them, you treat them right, you invest in them, you build personal relationships with them too, and all of a sudden you have this powerhouse team that's pushing your business forward for you and with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, Chris, it does go back to service, relationships. I know it's always stressed.
Well, that's one of the goals with Momentum too. I mean, honestly, because we're looking to build these businesses, and we will have more control. If we have title, mortgage, insurance, home inspection, home repair, maintenance company, because Brittany and I know how to do 5-star experience. We know how to provide it, and we know what the customer wants, and that's been the grace that we've learned from being in the business, and also being highly demanding people ourselves of others and having high expectations, is now if we create those same businesses and find the same quality talent, plug them in, then we can control the whole transaction and facilitate it, and the customer will be guaranteed a 5-star experience. And if there's something that goes wrong, they can call me and it'll be fixed the same day because I'm hyper responsive.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And that's something that other people won't be able to compete with. Zillow's not going to be able to do that through an algorithm.
No. That's another
Customers
thing too.
Customers don't want that. They're not ready for that right now, honestly. I think maybe in the future someday, but right now, real estate is a very personal, very unique asset class that you cannot automate away, and that's why they've had really difficult, all the online lead aggregators had a difficult time breaking in to the referral game and keeping it consistent. Again, because even if they found somebody good and they gave them leads, they burn out because they can't scale it. They have to find more quality people. You can't just hire a 20-year-old right out of college and have them go show homes and scale that business model. It doesn't work. The customer doesn't want it, and they're not building relationships with anybody that can give a quality experience.
That's why the mentorship program exists, right? Yeah. It's obviously working too. We have great success with the Momentum mentorship program. Yeah, but I've seen agents who are incredible bring that down to other people who are then diffusing that, right? I mean, they're also providing that. I see it all the time, and I just
effect.
Oh God, it's so strong.
3 graduates this month, people that came from other companies, and they were paying really high splits, and they come and they're in the mentorship program paying less in splits, getting somebody who makes 6 figures plus, learning everything that they know about the business, and they're graduating in record time. It's a formula for success, but it does require an enormous amount of effort in the interview phase to make sure that if we bring somebody in that's not qualified, that we do enough diligence on them to make sure that they're going to make it over the hump. Because to start a business in real estate in this market, is going to be more challenging than ever before.
Ever.
You either can buy your way in, which is buying online leads to build your database, or you can do the groundwork. The online lead game is very expensive right now, and the ground game due to COVID is limited. So, but we have different tactics at Momentum that we can share if you want to reach out. You can do both still at a fraction of the cost and get a high level of result. But it's very competitive, and so if we're bringing in somebody that is not already proven, there's got to be an enormous amount of testing on them to make sure that they have what it takes.
The right attitude to go forward.
Attitude, the commitment to it, the time commitment to it, the ability to be open-minded and coachable is tremendous. And fortunately, we've kind of cracked the code through personality assessments. We've got like a 3-interview phase. We kind of see how fast they respond to us.
That's smart.
Then, right? Because if they're not going to be responsive to us, there's no way they're going to be responsive to the customer. So we're starting to build like a little formula, because we get applications every single week of 3 or 4 people, and our acceptance rate last month was 75%. So we had 16 people apply, and we accepted 4.
So you're saying rejection rate 75%?
Yes.
I was about to say. I was like, well, that doesn't sound too high.
We accept 25%.
Right.
We accept 25%.
Yeah.
To state that clearly. And it goes back to the same thing that we're talking about here, like finding the right people who with the right relationships that can actually produce the result you want. Because if you invest in the wrong person, you build the wrong relationship, then you're going to have a huge problem.
Yeah.
All right, so to wrap it up, we'll just pretty much say, so the main thing was just about service. That's what we're getting at. Service, things have changed, and in order to keep going forward in the business and life, it's about if you don't adapt and provide service.
And build relationships with great people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good summary right there.
That's it. That
is
could have
it.
Just said that. And
Yeah, that's the podcast.
Just
I'm
build
done.
relationships.
Yeah. See, Bryson.
I know it, but it is. I mean, and that goes to a lot of different businesses too. And I think that's one of the reasons I love being in real estate, is because it's taught me so much about business that I thought I knew. But once you get down into the trenches, this is one of the best ways to have a blueprint but still run your own business, right? So now I can scale this out. Like eventually I will go into other businesses, right? I'll go into digital marketing. I will go into
It's a stepping stone.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is, but I will always have a passion for helping people find their home, just on a lesser scale as I scale out of the business. And, whether that does become running a team, or if I do just become referrals only and work with the people that are referred to me, who knows what that looks like. But it is, I am blessed to be in this market. I at least have had my start last year when it was a little easier to, I guess that was my last full year. I started in 2019. So I got my start a little earlier. I feel, man, people who start and succeed in this market, props to them, man. It is tough out there.
And everything you learn right now is going to stack into the future, and you take that with you, and every future client benefits from every closing that you do. And that's why volume matters. So like you could have an agent that says, I've been in the business 20 years and they sell 3 homes per year.
Yeah.
If you're in today's market and you're doing 15, 30 deals, you are 10 times more valuable than the person that sells 2
Well,
to 3.
I'll just last thing I'll say for myself is I look back on my stats, I'm like, man, I've been in 3 years, sold 140 homes. And I look back and I looked on my thing in the last 12 months and it said I sold 60 homes. I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
It's like, man.
Yeah.
So I did more in the last year than I did, in the first 2 years of business per year.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy.
So for like the people listening, if you're like a buyer or seller, longevity doesn't matter, because the market is always changing and you need a new tactic in a new market. What matters is how much did you do specifically in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
And if you're running into Chris and he's like, I've done 60, that puts him in the top 1% of real estate agents in Northeast Florida. So you're hiring the best.
Yeah.
You're hiring the best. So like you're crazy not to hire Chris, and you're crazy not to hire Bryson, because they're doing the volume where they have enough insight where they can save you money and give you that competitive edge to get into this market.
Well, I remember walking into the last office we had, the previous line share, right? And we were talking about business because we had our lunch discussion, and then I was coming in to talk about, business and what that looks like to you, and had a team meeting. And Chris was there. Chris came in, like he was coming in at the tail end of our conversation because he had a scheduled meeting with you to talk about his numbers. And Chris was a major reason outside of you and Brittany that I joined Momentum. Yeah. I remember he's like Bryson, just join Momentum. Don't even think about it. Just go, man. He's like, he was telling me, what, you sold like 30 homes or something the year before, and you're like, I want to do better. And I mean, doubled your business in the past 12 months. That's awesome, man. So congrats to you. I had one sale under my belt when I joined Momentum. It was before we had
from a team at a big box brokerage.
Yep. And then I went solo at the big box brokerage because I saw my first paycheck and I was like, I can't. I know I can't.
How much did you net on your first paycheck?
It was a $335,000 home. I netted. The just gross commission, what I got after the brokerage split, the team split, was $2,000. And I was like, if that's what I have to do for
so you made,
one
you
home.
made 20%.
Yeah.
You can't live off of that.
No.
That's like less than break even. You're going into debt doing that.
I saw the breakdown of like what the team lead made, who also was representing the list side. And oh, by the way, I saw that line, and I saw what the brokerage was making as much as me, and I'm like, what did they do? I didn't. I was like, what on earth? What is this?
But we cap it $4 million.
Gosh, yeah.
And you're an accounting background, right?
Finance. Yeah. So I think that's what drove me nuts the most is I see those numbers. But you
didn't run the numbers up front. You just saw the check and you're like, now I need to run the numbers.
Oh, yeah.
I did the same thing. I didn't check the numbers, and then at the end of the year, I realized I paid my brokerage $44,000, and they didn't do anything for me. It's like if they had provided value, that would have been okay.
Right.
But it was like honestly negative value. Like they would sometimes get in the way, and when they answered my questions, they weren't even sure. So I had to do the research myself anyway. Anyway, congratulations on moving on.
I appreciate it. But yeah, since then, I'll close my last 12 months will be about $5 million or something like that in volume. So getting where I want to go from July to July. Yeah,
but you're doing it the way you want it. That's the nice thing.
Man, the nice thing is too. I mean, as Jon was saying, I keep my costs. I keep a lean business, like a very lean business.
And travels to a wedding every week.
Not anymore. We're not wedding season yet. That'll be like November to
my bad.
Yeah, that is like September to November is wedding season for us this year. So, no, I keep my business very lean. Like I don't pay on my leads anymore. I used to do Facebook ads and that was lean. I don't do that anymore.
Yep.
Literally referrals. So loving on my people is what I allocate a bunch of money to.
Bryson, not to cut you off, but where can they find you?
At Bryson Powers Realtor on my socials, 904-615-9007 on my phone number, Bryson at BrysonPowers.com. And then you can also find me on YouTube. That is the most preferred way to find me. Just search moving to Jacksonville, Bryson Powers Realtor. Living in Jacksonville, you'll find me.
Jon, where can people find you?
You can find me everywhere. You can text me. That's cool. Yeah, text, not call, please.
On the Pokemon.
There's so many scam calls out there that I don't even answer my phone anymore. So you have to text me. It's 904-570-1216. Yeah, it's jonkbrooks.com. It's JONKBROOKS.com, and it has a bunch of my business philosophies on there, which honestly I probably stole from a bunch of other really smart people and then just aggregated into a website.
Baby.
So
rip off and duplicate. Let's
very
go.
Little of it. The only thing that is mine that I will claim to my own personal fame is the 3 R's: repeat, referral, and review business. Which I think that I got ripped off, and somebody's doing a conference with the 3 R's, and I got invited to it, and I was wondering if it's the same 3 R's.
Am I paying money to hear my own philosophy?
Yeah, I'm going to go to this event, and then they're going to read my article aloud to the class. So we'll see what happens, but I honestly, it's flattering because I rip off a lot of brilliant people. If I get ripped off, then that means they must think I'm brilliant.
That's
and
absolutely
I
right.
made that up, but it was actually made up before me, and I just added one thing to it, so it was incremental.
All right, hey,
Chris, what about you, man?
Well, you can find me at Chris Moore. I don't have a website yet. I got to do that.
Wow,
you did.
Chris.
Wait,
so you're telling
my
me
personal website.
You're telling me a website's not important for you to produce in the top 1% of real estate agents in Northeast Florida?
I got a website, but I don't remember what I think it's CM Group or no moregroupjacks.com.
It just shows how unimportant website and business cards are. I mean, it's good to have one to send.
It's good
people
to have. It's on my business card, honestly, but yeah, it's not where I get my business. So.
Business doesn't come from your personal website, even if it's IDX.
Yeah.
So that's another debate for a conversation. But anyway, thank you, Chris.
All right, guys, we ran out of all batteries. So next thing we'll do is make sure we get batteries because this is what they gave me. But
get burned through it.
Yeah.